everybody, Zeidoktor here, and this episode of the Typical Manga Review is going to be dedicated to My Hero Academia, Chapter 119. Title. Chapter 119. Come on. Deku versus Kacchan 2. Sorry, it's like, just like, things are like, getting to the manga stream pages here. We open up with Deku and Bakugo getting ready to fight. Deku's thinking to himself that it may well be that by fighting with me, he simply wanted to let out his emotions that he was unable to do anything else with. Yet, even if that was the case, it may have been selfish of me, but I couldn't let him win without a fight. Looking back, my thought processes were distorted, and this kind of goes back to what I've said before, where Bakugo kind of brings out the worst in Deku. From kindergarten to elementary to middle school and high school. Like, Deku's out loud in in that narration there, it's like, we've never exposed our true feelings and talked things out, not even once. Anyway, Deku declares that he has no intention of just becoming Bakugo's punching bag in this fight. So Bakugo kind of jumps in. He actually launches himself in the air and then just like dive bombs direct from above. And he just keeps up a relentless attack because Bakugo knows that the one thing he cannot do is give Deku time to think. He actually like a rolling ball of explosions. And this leaves Deku in a bit of trouble because he's noting that by the time Bakugo lands, he can completely close the distance, and that is not good for him. Bakugo's getting ready for an attack, but Deku's got to deflect the hand in, but then another attack kind of kicks in there. Deku manages to land the attack. Basically, they start brawling at this point. I'm not quite sure can't quite well act too well on this. But Deku's like mostly evading because he doesn't even barely have time to breathe. Bakugo grabs his arm and just slams him. Even as he's like falling against something himself, it looks like. And Deku's thinking to himself that his usual method is to predict enemies' movements and decide on the best course of action, but he'll never be able to act in time if he does that. The reflexive speed to move immediately after seeing, that's one thing for certain. Bakugo started to polish that much more than he ever had before. And Deku's thinking to himself, I know I'm stating the obvious, but you're really getting stronger. Of course, he says this while smiling, which just pisses off Bakugo further. I thought you said you were going to be my punching bag. Guess you were wrong. This prompts Deku to get back up. And Bakugo's ready for another scheme or trick of him coming up, but Bakugo tries a stun grenade, a flashbang basically. And he's declaring as he's getting ready to attack that sort of thing always made Bakugo sick to his stomach. I never know what the hell you're thinking. No matter how much I beat the living shit out of you, you just kept holding on and coming at me. And you're always looking at me from above with those damn eyes of yours. Even though you were just some asshole who never had a damn thing. And just this whole time you were looking down at me with disdain and truly aiming to surpass me because you knew you could. It's that goddamn attitude of yours I cannot stand. And Deku's just kind of standing there shocked at that revelation. Like, you thought of me like that? Well, that's pretty normal. If I kept being looked down on and made fun of by someone, I know I would want to have nothing to do with that person. But who knows? Like I said earlier, it's like I did have nothing, and that's exactly why. As unpleasant as he was, basically not quite sure how to phrase it because it's weirdly worded here. Like the exact wording used by manga streamers, to the same extent as all your unpleasant traits, your sheer amazingness and everything you do was so brilliant to me, it was blinding. You had so many things I never had. To me, you were an amazing, inspiring person who was even closer to me than All Might. Because of that. No. Okay, sorry. It's like I thought there was like extra dialogue, but it's not. But at this point, Deku's like basically that's why he was kind of chased after him, and the narration goes on that Deku explained that his emotions got worked up, his control was slightly disrupted, and at the upper limit that his body would ordinarily allow for, this whole time 5% power was a limit. 5% power was a limit that Deku consciously used while in full cowling state, and surprisingly, it had never even occurred to him exactly how much he had been able to train and polish his body up to that point. And as he's thinking about all this, Baku is watching, thinking about how he's like several times faster than he just was a few moments ago, and he's got to actually put up a guard and block this. And as Deku's actually attacking, we see that he's no longer at 5%, it's 8% is his maximum power level limit. And he declares he's finally caught up to Baku as he actually lands a big attack against Bakugo's guard. And that ends the chapter. Yeah, this section will probably be a little bit quick because there's not really like, this is an action chapter. There's like a lot of brawling, not much to really get into chewing up on here. Like kind of get into theorizing or playing with. Some of the posts I've saw in here kind of complain about the way of the action. You can't necessarily tell where there's an impact, and kind of going through it again for this review, I have to kind of agree. Like, it's not always easy to follow like just what's happening. So, but, and yeah, like, and there's also like plenty of people like noting the fact that their relationship is not healthy. I mean, Bakugo is Bakugo, and Deku practically grew up in Stockholm. I mean, it's always kind of been like Deku's thing that that as much as he dislikes Bakugo because of how they've been, he also admires him because of how strong he is. So there's that. And now they're actually kind of like giving things a proper hashing out on here. So that's kind of where this is coming. Like they're actually talking things out. They're actually like fighting things out. So this ought to be interesting for their dynamic, at least when all the dust settles. There have been some people who are talking as if Deku's narration is supposed to like suggest that some big horrible thing's gonna happen to Bakugo because of this fight. But I'm not seeing it. I'm really not. I mean, I don't expect Bakugo to like necessarily come out of this unscathed. Like he's gonna get banged up before it's done, but it's not like gonna be a situation where like something critical happens. And I think Bakugo's a little tougher than that. Still, he is. There's a nice little touch of Deku getting like the nice little bit of a power boost here. Kind of funny that it kind of goes from 5 to 8, not like a incremental from 5, 10, 15 or so on. It's like just a few percentage points higher. But apparently even those little bits of percent are actually enough to make the difference here, as he actually is, as Bakugo knows, that he's a lot faster than he was just a few moments ago. So, yeah. A couple of comments here, like more than 100 chapters to get to 8%. Hopefully it will be 80% by chapter 1000. And from there it's reached 120, 200, 1000%. But hey, it's own in manga, known for exponential growth anyway. And then comes the Deku transformations. Yeah. I can't really think of much to add on this. Like this was a almost pure action chapter. We had some nice narration with Deku, pointing out that they have never actually talked their problems out because they're young boys and they're kind of dumb like that. So that's a thing. So I'm just trying to think, is there anything else I can add on here that hasn't already been, that needs to come up on here? Because there really isn't at this point. Like I said, yeah, I'm just gonna keep this review short this time around, like just a kind of a story this time. Because like I said, this pure action. Like this one's like there's actually a few pages with almost no dialogue or just pure action. Like there's one part where I'm not like, entirely sure what happened, like where it's like it's almost like Bakugo like sends it explosion in the air and it like explodes in front of him after that. Oh, okay. Okay. I get it. Like it's page 7. Like Bakugo's like he's just like jumping to using explosion to get behind Deku quickly. Actually, there's one thing that I can probably bring up real quick. Like that Bakugo's strategy on here is like it's kind of funny. Like for all Deku is known for being able to plan around enemies, Bakugo is pretty much doing that same thing, like throwing that same thing at Deku. Which in this case, his weakness is is the fact that he thinks through strategy. He's a thinker before he's a fighter. And Bakugo is the exact opposite. His strategy is pretty much do not give Deku time to think. Like just keep attacking him, keep it onslaught going. Yep. You know, I can see this maybe like being something that was kind of hinted at with the eraser, where these two are kind of like push themselves to get tougher for different reasons. Because Deku knows in the narration that it's because he got so worked up in this fight that he actually like slipped his control and actually got a little higher than normal because of it. Still, it is nice to see that Deku is getting tougher. Like he is getting more used to his power, so he can definitely do more going forward. It looks like. Oh, there's actually one thing on here. It says here that the next issue that they'll for this year they'll be announcing the results of the second popularity poll, and they'll be announced along with the color cover. So that'll be fun to see. But with that, I don't think I'm going to call this review. Like I said, just a quickie because it was mostly action chapter. At this point, I'm kind of just trying to force myself to come up with things to talk about. I think it's doing more harm than good. So I think Jump's going to have a break next week. So Jump as a whole, so there probably won't be any chapters from Academia or One Piece. But I'll try and find something to go on next week beyond the normal stuff. So until then, bye-bye.